Hi everybody, it's Lauren Dockett from Psychotherapy Networker. Here we are, 5 o'clock on a Friday at Symposium 2019. Thanks for being with us. And with me today is Scott Sells. Hi Scott.
Hi
Thanks
Lauren.
for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Scott is an expert on treating kids and parenting kids and teens, and an expert on traumatized kids as well. He's the author of 3 books. And he also has a model, the PLL model. I'm very interested, Scott, in your perspective on this, because we've thought often when we're dealing with trauma, we're looking at one person at a time.
Right.
You say when it comes to kids and teens, we're going to bring everybody in.
Yeah.
The family, maybe even community members. Why so many people?
Well, 8 years ago I began this because the first 2 books were more of the behaviors with the child and adolescence, and I kept seeing relapse happen because of trauma.
Okay.
And I was shocked when I looked at the literature and saw so much on trauma-informed practice for the individual child, but there wasn't step-by-step approaches on how to work with the traumatized family. And so 8 years, we went to many families. I used a research approach called process research, and I did it with the first book. And the families were very clear with us. They were like, usually when we have trauma, our child gets seen individually. And we know that we have the same amount of trauma, but the counselors that we're working with don't have the tools to work with our whole family and extended family. And so I didn't really want to write another book because I had a family now, but I just felt that that was a missing niche in our field of going from the traumatized child to the traumatized family. So I stuck with it, and the book came out this year.
Okay,
so,
fantastic. Okay, so now what are some of the reasons when a kid is traumatized that they kind of can't get past that trauma? What do you see most often?
Well, we find that there's first order and second order change. First order change is when you just stay with the symptoms. And we found in our research there was something called undercurrents, or key drivers that the family was missing and the therapist was missing. So for example, if you had a symptom of anxiety or self-harm or depression, the family is taught how to work with the therapist using this family systems trauma model to go using an apple tree to go to the roots and to be like co-detectives to figure out which of the toxic seeds is coming the cause. So for example, you might have a family being able to talk about unhealed wounds and the undercurrent being unresolved grief or lack of nurturance or family secrets. But when you do it in a very gentle way, the families are more than willing to tell you that's what it is. And every family we work with said, we want to talk about the story, but we always get to the point of now what? So to answer your question, the families now become co-collaborators in the process of finding these hidden undercurrents or drivers using an apple tree where we focus on the fruit is the symptoms, and then we talk about the seeds that are driving the fruit, which is the problems, and then the undercurrents are the key DNA. So if there's grief, the missing healthy undercurrent is, how to resolve that grief or how to have tools. And that's where structural strategic family therapy really comes in, because families want playbooks that we call trauma playbooks to say, once they identify what the undercurrent is, and once we identify what the healthy undercurrent is, then they want a playbook on how to get unstuck. So the answer to that question is the undercurrents and creating a system for the family to discover what those are, and then to replace the opposite healthy undercurrent.
So undercurrent, is that sort of like a family pattern that they're kind of...
It is. It's like, it could be like a long-term family pattern that's keeping them stuck, that they don't realize what it is. I saw a family the other day where the issue was a lack of nurturance, where once the trauma hit, which was that the father died unexpectedly, the family shut down. And they didn't know how it was all working, so the kid acted out, and they were just focused on the disrespect and the aggression. And they forgot that the trauma was the key driver, and once we got them an aha moment, then the family was ready to rally around this seed, toxic seed than each other. And that's the other thing that kids like, is they always come in like the identified patient, but when they leave, it's a family problem now. And And they look at you with a sign of relief, like, thank you.
And when they take that home,
Yeah.
can they point it out to their parents and
Yeah.
siblings? Do they? Are
They do. We
verbal about
involve
it?
the whole family and the community. Because the other thing is, a lot of our therapists aren't always taught on how to get the grandparents in, the aunts and the uncles. They don't realize the beauty of technology with Zoom, and they don't have to even live in the same neighborhood like we used to have. So it's really an interesting point, because the other thing we found was something called interactional trauma, where if the parents and kids were fighting all the time, it would keep pulling the scab open.
Right.
And we had to stop the drama, because drama equals trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when everybody's there on the same page, all
Yes.
working together, it makes a huge difference.
And using the metaphor of the apple tree,
The apple tree.
it's externalizing the problem to the seeds that we have to figure out, and the undercurrents, instead of fighting and just picking up that the child's the problem.
That really is a memorable metaphor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Scott.
Thank
This
you.
is really helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. More Facebook Lives to come. Stay with us. Bye.